Greeting and welcome to the Intensive Success Growth. I am your host, Nishant Sharma. Please give warm welcome to our guest, Stacey Robert. Stacey Robert is an image consultant and is a motivational youth speaker. Welcome, Stacey.
Thank you, Nishant. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here with you.
Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Oh gosh, that's a big question. I would say that the impetus for my image consulting firm and definitely the motivational youth speaking began in college. I am a graduate of the illustrious Fisk University out of Nashville, Tennessee. I had wonderful mentorship there. Fisk was where I found my voice. It's where I found my confidence. It's where I found the mentorship I needed to fully step into my gifts and talents. And I started my career at Fisk as a professional opera singer. That's what I did for the first part of my adult life. Found my voice there, found my instructors there who were always impressing upon me the importance of showing up in the world, looking great, feeling great, and exuding confidence. And at the time, I didn't have much confidence, but they instilled that in me over time. And I began to take stages and perform all over the world, building a repertoire that way. And of course, paying more attention to the way that I presented myself in front of people, how I introduced myself, how I spoke to other people, how I interacted with different people. Because when you're on stage, it's kind of expected of you to know how to do those types of things. And so I became really good at it, very comfortable with it. And I saw at that time how much that changed the trajectory of my life. Once I became more confident, self assured, cared about the way I dressed and presented myself to people, it opened up so many doors for me. And that was the impetus that ultimately led to my image consulting firm, Urbanity a la Mode.
Okay. What are the top three reasons why do people fail?
That's a good question. I think one of the reasons people fail is because of fear. I think sometimes we're so deep into our heads and our brains that we're afraid to step outside of our comfort zones. We're afraid to try. I think another reason where we fail is because we lack proper mentorship. We don't have the right people in our circles. We don't have the right network of people who have been there, done that, accomplished the goal, and can show us the way to go. I mean, and that can be a hard thing to encounter, but you again, that fear can step in and you don't open and expose yourself enough to people who could actually be of benefit to you. Let me think. A third reason why people fail. I think another reason why people fail, and this is important, is that we give up too easily. We expect instant gratification, and we think if we try and we don't succeed, then it's the wrong thing to do. So we turn and do something else, and we fail and we turn and do something else, as opposed to staying on the right path and knowing that along that path you're going to fall, you're going to fail, but ultimately if you don't give up and you have the right network, you have the right mentorship, you have the right training credential, and you will ultimately win. I think those are the reasons why people fail.
Okay. What's your greatest failure story? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
Oh goodness, my greatest failure story. I have lots of failures. It's like which one do I choose? You know what? I think my greatest failure that turned into a success was when I was nearing the end of my musical career. I just wasn't satisfied with what I was producing as a musician. Musicians are notoriously perfectionists. We want the best outcome all the time without fail. And I just wasn't producing the way that I wanted to. After years and years of success, I mean, I was doing well, but I just wasn't happy with what I was doing. I didn't think that I was producing the way that I could. And I saw that as a failure. And I didn't really know which way to go after that. Music had been my life for a decade at that point. But then I was willing to sit down and take inventory of my gifts, my talents, my skills, my interests, and ultimately determine that I had a bunch of things that I could do very well. Music wasn't the be all end all. And I just decided to go a different route. I ended up going back to school, became board certified as a physician assistant, practiced emergency medicine, and it was off to the races from there. So definitely could have stayed in the midst of that failure as a musician, feeling I wasn't good enough, wasn't talented enough. But I just decided to take inventory of what I had inside of me that I knew I could give to the world and give to other people, and took a chance on myself and my gifts and decided to take another route, stuck to that route, and ultimately success found me.
Okay. So, what's your greatest success story?
I think my greatest success story is where I am right now, and how I've managed to get there. So after PA school, immediately began working, loved every moment of it, still wanted to exercise a bit of my right brain because I'm definitely a creative. And I said, what can I do to satisfy that side of my brain? I've always been involved in dance in one form or another. I decided to take some dance classes again just for fun. 2 years later, it ended up being a profession for me. So now I'm a professional Afro Latin dancer. I travel all over the world, teaching, performing, training, doing all of that at the same time, still maintaining my clinician status. And then urbanity came after that. I was able to put all of those skills together to create this image consulting firm, which turned into speaking engagements, which turned into real estate investing, which turned into so many different things. So again, just taking inventory. I think that's such an important thing that we don't do. We don't take inventory of what our unique skill sets are and how we can maximize and exploit those skill sets to carve out a very unique niche for ourselves in the market. And so I just put all of my things together and decided what can I do with all of this to make myself a success. And I think that's my ultimate success story, is that I figured that out.
What motivates you within?
Wow. And I love the way, Nishant, that you posed that question, because I think you can glean motivation from other people, but ultimately that motivation has to come from inside yourself. That's the strongest source of motivation that's going to push you forward to get done what you want to get done. And for me, what motivates me is, number one, I'm just wired that way to want to do the very, very best I can at everything I do. But the second thing is, I know that I wouldn't be where I am today without the mentorship that I had. It's a very, very valuable, very precious thing to me to think back to all the mentors I've had over the years, all the people that poured their time and their talents into me so that I can be successful today. And so without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And that motivates me not only to do the work that I do, but to also encourage other people to do the exact same thing. So my entire thing, I always say, make a plan, work the plan, achieve the goal, and pay it forward. And right now I'm living that achieve the goal and pay it forward moment. And that's what motivates me.
Okay. So, what's your company success? Like
I'm sorry, what's my company?
uh, motto?
Oh, my company motto. So for the image consulting, it's fueling success with impeccable style and decorum. And for the speaking arm of my business, I've just shortened that to style, decorum, success. So those are my two mottos.
Okay. Who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is a professional woman, usually solopreneur, entrepreneur, probably has less than 5 employees on staff, very, very small outfit that she's running, but quite successful, on the verge of taking her business to the next the next level. So in terms of branding, in terms of notoriety, in terms of brand awareness, she's ready to go to the next level. She's usually between the ages of 30 and 45, 50 years old at the outside, usually single, sometimes married, very, very, very ambitious, very goal driven, and very motivated, kind of like me, motivated like I am in terms of wanting to do the very best, have the very best outcomes, and always with a view to inspire and encourage as many people as possible through their business, through their presence. So that's my ideal client.
How do you find your ideal client?
Oh, that's a good question. So, a lot of my clients come to me through word of mouth at this point. It wasn't always that way, but through word of mouth. Social media has been a great help to me. And I also do quite a bit of advertising. Advertising for me was a game changer. Once I began to use ads, I was able to get my message out much easier to a broader audience who, maybe not, they're not on Facebook, maybe they're not on LinkedIn or Instagram, and they're able to locate me that way. So that's how I find them.
How do you handle rejections?
Oh, that's difficult. We always have challenges with accepting rejection. I think you're either one of two persons when you face rejection. The first person, when they deal with rejection, they deflect and say, oh, there must be something wrong with you because you never reject me because I'm so great and awesome. The second person is more introspective and says, okay, I'm fine with the rejection. I'm okay with that. Let me go back to the drawing board and see how I can improve myself, make my services better, make my pitch better, make my offers better, make my presentation better. And I'm definitely the latter. So when I deal with rejection, I'm dealing with it in an introspective way, and I'm thinking about being more critical, or I would say self-constructive, so that I can learn from that rejection and make myself better for the next encounter.
How do you start your day?
Oh, that's a good question. So one of the things I work with my clients on is creating a morning routine which sets the groundwork for the entire day, the rest of the day. And that's part of a self-care strategy that I build for them. So my unique individual self-care strategy, normally I'm waking up between 6 and 7:30. Depending on if I have a performance or something going on, I may start my day with either a workout or with rehearsal, maybe a 2 to 3 hour rehearsal. I just got back from rehearsal, by the way. I have a performance tomorrow, so my feet are killing me right now. But that's normally how I start the day. I'll eat maybe a little something around noon. After I get my workout done or get my rehearsals done, I immediately start doing my calls. I'll have calls pretty much throughout the day. And then I'll take some time to do some marketing, because marketing is a constant thing in business. Of course, you have to constantly market and put yourself out there. Content creation. I go live several times a week. So I plan my live streams, what I'm going to talk about, what products, services I want to tell my clients and prospective clients about. I usually go live around 7 o'clock in the evenings, and then the rest of the evenings are my own. If I'm in the clinic that day is pretty much gone to the clinic. So I usually work in clinic from 4 to 2 a.m. or 5 to 3 a.m. So when I'm in clinic, I'm usually sleeping for the majority of the morning, and then I'll go work in the clinic that night.
Amazing. So, how, what are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for health.
Okay.
I just had COVID last week. It totally took my entire week away. I'm still recovering from it. I'm still exhausted. Luckily, all the other symptoms have abated at this point, but it really brought to the forefront again for me. And it's a good reminder that if you don't have your health, you have absolutely nothing. You have absolutely nothing. And it's the reason why self-care to me is so important. It's so critical, because if I'm not healthy, if I'm not optimal in terms of health and wellness, then I can't be my best, and I can't help other people to be their best. So I'm grateful, eternally grateful for very good health.
How young are you?
I am 42 years young.
You are not
I don't-
42-year young, you are 18-year young with 24-year experience.
you know what? I feel that way. Age is arbitrary, the number is arbitrary. I don't feel any different today than I did when I was 25 years old. I'm always on the go, and I think that helps. That helps me a lot.
Okay. Who is your living mentor?
Oh my living mentor. It would have to be my mother. Have to be my mother. She is the ultimate success story. She struggled quite a bit early on in terms of finding her way, but she never gave up. She now runs a very successful business on her own. She's the kind of person, again, that she had to relinquish her fear and trepidation because she'd always depended on somebody else or something else. But she knew she had a talent for helping people and doing excellent work. And once she was able to step into that fully, her business took off and she's doing exceptionally well. So she's my living mentor.
What's your favorite book?
Oh, goodness. You know what? I would say the book that changed my life was The Millionaire Next Door. I can't remember the authors at the moment of that book. I read it years ago. But The Millionaire Next Door is my favorite book. It changed my entire outlook on business, on money, on finances.
What advice you will give younger yourself?
Oh, goodness. I would probably tell my younger self, stop being so afraid. Listen to your intuition, trust your gut, and don't worry yourself with what other people think about you. Do what you know you can do. Step out on faith, knowing that you have gifts and talents and skills that can be beneficial to the marketplace, and just do them, and don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't walk in fear.
How can I support you?
That's a sweet question. I think you're supporting me in offering to have me here on your podcast. I think that's a great means of support. And like I said, I really appreciate being here. We're now tied together on LinkedIn, and that's another great means of support in terms of getting my message out there and everything. So I think you're supporting me very, very well.
Okay. What would you like to say about your guest experience on this show?
Oh, it's been amazing. It's been wonderful. I love the questions. I love the interest, of course. And I think you've done quite a bit of homework in preparation for it. It sounds like the questions are very pointed questions. So I appreciate that. And I've enjoyed it very much.
What's your final word?
My final word is for the female entrepreneur that's out there that is trying to attract her ideal client, that maybe is she knows she's kind of outgrown her space at the moment. She knows she's ready to take it to the next level. I would encourage you just to keep going. Don't forget why you started your business. Don't forget your passion for your business. Don't forget that your customers and clientele are number one. Always keep them in the forefront of your mind. Always give them what it is they need. Always provide them the highest level of service, and always position and present yourself in a way that speaks to the value of the product and service that you are offering. And you won't have to say a word about it. Your presence, your presentation will speak volumes to your value and what you have to offer.
Thanks, Stacey, for sharing your wisdom with us on the behalf of our community and team. We really appreciate you. Until the next time,
Oh,
all good wishes to you.
thank you. Thank you so much, Nishant. It's been a pleasure in terms of